We will start looking to the global wage report. A significant part of it is on the minimum wage, basically, and that part is actually I will just look briefly and end the presentation there. So it is very much likely actually the presentation will end with this video, so it will be shortest presentation basically. Well, I just want to introduce you to the available data with this presentation and basically with this video lecture, and uh, I think you are able to you understand, I mean, how these reports, what these reports are consist of mostly, and well, you are able to find more if you are interested in more. So let's look to the global wage report. Mostly at the beginning there's a summary, so you can also look to the summary if you are interested. If you just want to overall cover of it. So this is the global wage growth actually in the world, and you can see with and without China. Usually China was the source of the wage growth, so it actually has reflected its part of growth to the workers, and the workers' living standards have grown in China throughout the years. But global wage growth is still, I mean, there was still also a significant wage growth in the whole world. And these are the numbers for the regions. So, for example, in Africa, in 2000s there was a growth, but then in late years there was a significant level of shrinks. In Africa also there were shrinks basically in the wage, but there was some growth in the early 2010, from 2010 to 2015. This is Asia Pacific with and without China. You can see a very high growth rates, although most of it is created by the China. And this is Northern America. It is mostly moderate, but there was some growth. Um, so these are Obama years actually. In the Obama years, you see growth. In the Trump years, you can also see some growth, although the overall rate is less than Obama years basically. Um, Central Western Asia, Middle East, and Central Asia, you can see growth. I mean, high growth rates, although uh, in 2017 it has somehow decreased. Latin America saw some growth, not that high, but some growth. But in recent years, that growth has decreased significantly. Europe, you can see moderate growth, which in some cases turned to negative. Um, Eastern Europe has seen a lot of growth, with some years which were bad. Here I'm just going on the data. Of course, we can spend hours discussing why this is so, but I'm leaving that to you, that potential discussion. And one interesting aspect of this data is looking to the effect of COVID. So now I actually want to go to that aspect of this data. Oh, you can see here the effect of COVID. Here, the downward pressure actually created by 2000 after the March. This is Finland. This is Germany. Although in Germany, basically, um, both unemployment rate and wage. Unemployment rate is the columns. So it increases in May 2020, although it has decreased back in the June basically. Those are countries which take some precautions. So, for example, unemployment decrease has been relatively limited. Wage decrease has been drastic, but it has somehow recovered. Spain, you can see drastic decrease, although unemployment did not pick up that much. Netherlands, you can see uh, the real wage has more or less stabilized. I mean, but unemployment has risen drastically. Not drastically, actually, from 3% to 4%. Um, so Sweden, more or less stable. United Kingdom, well, 2% fall in wages and almost no increase in unemployment rate. Japan, you can see a decrease in wage from 100 to 19%, and some increase in unemployment from 2 to 3%, almost nothing actually. Some pressures are there, but many countries have actually Mexico has suffered, but it has not actually suffered. It has some pike, but then that has come down. Similar for the Malaysia, but in Mexico you can see at least unemployment. I mean, in Malaysia also unemployment pick up. Well, United States might be the country where do we have United States? We don't have United States here, where the effect might have been especially drastic. Oh, these are the countries where actually COVID-19 has no effect, as you see. Actually, even the wage rate has somewhat increased after March, especially. Although in Romania, unemployment has somewhat increased. So these are real and nominal wage growths. So in COVID, this is the loss of the wage bill. Blue ones are the ones that are created by the employment loss, and then the red ones are due to reduced hours. So relatively, employment loss has created less loss. Mostly, employers have reduced rather the hours, so the burden is shared by everyone, not by people who were fired from the jobs. And the highest loss is Portugal, which is 13.5%, which means actually 13.5% of the all wages paid to everyone is reduced in Portugal. In Luxembourg, for example, the wage created by employment loss is almost minus 0.1, basically. The lowest loss in total is in Netherlands. It is minus 1.7, basically. Okay, and you can see gender cases. The man, red, blue, woman. Women suffered more loss. 16% in Portugal, for example, as opposed to 11% of men, basically. In France, you can see how drastic the difference is, basically. So everywhere, there's almost everywhere a difference. Nowhere women did better than men. Okay. So this is the ratio of the 19 percentile ratio, 10 percentile wage. I mean the top 10 to bottom 10. And the light blue is before COVID. So as you see, mostly the inequalities have been increased in the COVID. In some cases more, in some cases less, but still increased. In Spain, for example, it has increased from 23% to 36%. Do we have any countries where inequalities have actually decreased? No, in some cases. I mean, in Romania it was 4.2%, and now it is 5%. Romania remains in the bottom. In some cases, maybe this might be the country, Sweden, where the difference has increased only by 0.6%. Of course, all of these creates questions. Share of the wage bill received by those at the bottom 5%. After the start of the COVID-19 crisis, it has decreased from the 26% to 23%, but a significant portion of it is regained after wage subsidies. And wage bill loss due to reduction of working hours. Wage bill loss reduction of working hours before taking into account wage subsidies minus 6.4. Wage bill maintained by wage subsidies 2.3, and then it has reduced. So now, briefly, I will talk on the minimum wage case, basically. These are minimum wage adjustments made by the countries in the 2020. You can look to it. I think the Turkey is here. which made a 15% adjustment. Yes, in 2013 it has made 15% adjustment. United States is not here. It doesn't make any adjustment. You have instead United States, New York State. I mean, their separate states make their own adjustments. They have made a 11% adjustment basically. But you have all kind of data on the minimum wage actually. Who gets with what type of minimum wage, sectoral distribution, age distribution. I mean the gender, the development, the regional analysis. It has this report has worked on the. I mean, we are now at the 60th page, and there are more than 200. I mean, there are more than 200 pages of this report. Of course, part of it is appendix, but almost half of the report. I mean, more than half of the report, even maybe, is left, and it is on the minimum wage. It is a very detailed analysis of the minimum wage. So, if you are interested, I will certainly suggest you. So these are the countries without minimum wage, by the way. You can see here. Are there any countries here? In Cuba also you have the minimum wage. And this is the percentage in the world. I mean, 84% of the countries have minimum wage stated by the state creates it, and then you have 6% of the countries which have negotiated minimum wage, and 10% of the countries without minimum wage. The highest percentage of countries without minimum wage are in the Arab region. Basically, you can see the distribution among the different countries. And I will just look how many people are earning minimum wage or below. Of course, this in the countries that don't have minimum wage, these numbers mean nothing. So there are a significant number of countries where actually, well, no one works under minimum wage because there is no minimum wage. So in Europe, 17% of the people work under at or under the minimum wage. This is hourly minimum wage. So basically, in yearly numbers, the actual earning level of these people depend on also how many hours per week they are working. Basically, some jobs offer relatively better hourly wage even compared with minimum wage, but they might only be there for a few hours. In total, in general, actually, you might be worse off because the job is not stable, and it might even not set previously number of hours in which you will work. Anyway, in Asia and Pacific, 19% of the population is working under or at minimum wage. In Africa, 24%. In America, 22%, basically. And in world in total, 327 million wage earners are paid at or below minimum wage. Again, this doesn't include the countries which don't have minimum wage, basically. And these are the 2019 figures. Okay, and you can see all here also the numbers in a different way of presentation. And just if you are interested, there is another global table. You can see, I mean, how minimum wage is actually, some countries have multiple minimum wage levels, basically. And also, you can see in China how minimum wage has increased, actually, the real minimum wage and nominal minimum wage, basically, since 2010. Or in non-qualified workers minimum wage. So, you can see, as I said, you can see there is a lot of information on the minimum wage in different countries and also different aspects of it. If you are interested in it, I will certainly suggest the second part of the report, but even the first part of the report is interesting in terms of COVID-19's effect on the labor market. Anyway, I'm ending the presentation here and the lecture here. As always, I hope all of you will stay healthy.